Welcome to the Product Clinic, the podcast where together we diagnose health tech product challenges and prescribe actionable insight to help you build and market health tech products that people love. We know health tech product development and marketing is complex, and limited platform exists to exchange knowledge. This is why we started this podcast to build a community of product experts that share their best practices. I'm your host, Theo, and today we will dive deep into the world of health tech innovation with a guest who have done it from all angles. He used to develop neurosciences, medical device, and research lab before confounding connected health startup. Lately, he worked on defining and operating digital transformation initiative to support connected device and services go-to-market with the biggest healthcare pharma companies. If you got a vision and an ambitious plan in healthcare, you will want him in your corner. I'm talking about Antoine Bourrier. Welcome, Antoine. How are you?
Thanks, Theo. I'm very good. Hope you too. And I'm very excited to have this discussion today about healthcare innovation.
Looking forward. I'm so happy to have you in the podcast. And we have so many topics that we could talk together, so we decided to cover only three big main topics today. One's going to be the startup versus corporate lens on innovation in health tech, how to manage life science on digital health product, and the role of leadership in driving digital innovation. Ultimately, you have done so many things, and I'm happy to have you here. But maybe to present yourself to our guest, could you tell us a bit? You have done in health tech, digital innovation for years in startup, but also worked in consulting company. Can you tell us a bit more about your experience with digital health from the different type of organization?
Absolutely. So basically, I started a bit more the hardware part, studying physics and doing like designing and building implants for neuroscience, so brain-computer interface in research laboratories. And obviously, the more advanced the device and the technology, the more important is the digital part and the software part, whether it's embedded, whether it's an application website, or whether you want to collect data, treat it, and everything. So quite naturally, as soon as you touch technology, nowadays you touch software. And that's a bit being in a research lab with very advanced technology that I went naturally to the digital world. And exploring that was starting the journey from really just the data management and machine learning algorithm to improve the device we were using as brain-computer interface towards something more like human, like user-centered, developing application, developing website, and trying to solve some challenge of healthcare with a bit more simple technology, like simple in the way we consider it, with just simple app or things like that. So that's a bit my journey, and developing very advanced things in lab was fun, but the impact you can have on healthcare can be made with very simpler digital solutions sometimes. And we were a bit behind, I think, and we are still behind in terms of healthcare utilization of some digital solution. And that's why I've decided after founding startup to go to corporate and see how we can also impact the healthcare system and product in this world.
Great. And that's where we met actually when you come to try to help us at Stroman back in the days. When I was through your CV, I also realized that I would have met much earlier. When I was at EPFA, we were actually studying neuroscience, health technology at the same time together. For our listeners, some of them might not come from healthcare. So I would like to know why building product in the healthcare industry and in health tech is so different from other things.
Somehow I think it's not so different. There are some specificities, of course, that complexify the original model of innovation. But I think building an innovation, meaning having an invention, meeting your market and having an innovation is already a complex journey where you need to respect some methodology, you need to be really hands-on, go to your users, all that. So there is a huge pillar that doesn't change between healthcare and any other thing you will build, like a car, a plane, whatever. The few specificities are, one is the regulation, of course, but you also have regulation in aerospace. You also have regulation in all the different fields where you build a product that can harm people. For example, I'm thinking about the car that cleaned the road. So I used to work with this company, and they had this very potentially harmful way of, they wanted to develop a simple interface, but this is just a vehicle that cleaned the road. Yet, if this interface bug, and if the part that removes the snow from the road just open itself in the middle of the highway when you don't want, you can kill people. So the danger is that. And they have as complex regulation. They really need to develop things the proper way to test, very have like a test routine very robust and everything. So this is a specific to healthcare, but it's not just healthcare. Another one, which is quite important, is the whole market access part. And that's very specific to healthcare and very complex. So I will see this as one of the main issue when it comes to put a product, healthcare product on the market. You have payers, you have users, you have prescribers, all of that different, and all of that with different power and different responsibility in function of the country you go. Meaning sometimes the hospital will provide, sometimes the hospital will buy, but the pharmacy will provide. And the user is kind of, there is not just one user, because each of those people are a user. They use your solution. They don't necessarily are the end user of your product, but you need to address each of their specific need, because if you don't, one of them can block the whole access to the market. So you can have the best product for your patient. You can find the solution that will drastically change their life. If this solution is a nightmare for pharmacists to distribute, for a hospital to prescribe, or doctor to prescribe anything, or if it's too expensive or not well enough reimbursed, then you get a problem. And this is, I guess, what brings the complexity to healthcare.
Yeah, thanks. I fully agree with you. I think the market access part and the marketing part of health tech product is very complex. Also, when we think sometimes that we need to integrate those products into the hospital world or in the patient world where they have interesting with non-healthcare product or with people that are not trained to the latest technology, it's tough. And as you mentioned, the ecosystem is so diverse with a lot of stakeholders involved. So it's really a challenge. And I like also to say that if we want to be patient centric, but if you think only about the patient, it's not even going to reach in. So that's key that you address the needs of every single player.
Absolutely. And this is a field where, some people might say that medical science is not always a science, like being a doctor, being in contact with the patients. It's a lot of human part that when you develop a technology, you tend to forget about it. When you do an innovation, any innovation in the world, any startup will do design thinking, and they will test their approach toward the user to refine the product they are doing and match the proper user experience and match the expectation. You cannot do that in healthcare because you need to have an approved product. And what I see a lot is team complexifying the whole thing even before talking to the user, developing a product, getting some very specialized people like key opinion leader on the topic, but very often not taking enough into account the opinion of healthcare provider, nurse, doctors on the field, going to the hospital, seeing the different patient experience and how the system is organized. Because the system is organized, no one is waiting for you, but it's just compensated with more human care, more service provided. Not necessarily the best, but you need to really understand that before you start to think about a new product. And we did that together at Stroman. You remember, like, going to see dentists in different kind of clinic, in different kind of country, and talking with everyone at the clinic. And sometimes you will see that most of the decision around the tools will be taken by the secretary at the entrance of the office. Sometimes it was the wife of the dentist that was taking care of that. Sometimes it was the dentist itself because he really loved the technology and going to provider and everything. And this is a whole ecosystem you don't realize exists when you just think about dentists. Yeah, all the same. So I think that that's quite important.
No, that's definitely key. Being very careful on how you really segment or look at the job to be done by your users. Is your clinician really doing the job that you think he's doing? It's really key. And I think, as you mentioned, often in corporate, we tend to talk a lot to those KOL, just very big guy, but that not necessarily reflect the reality of all hospitality, working in hospital with a lot of associates, right? And I think it's going a perfect transition with my next question. You have worked on both sides, startup, also big corporate with your consulting services. I think there is a different lesson that you can get and different approach maybe on developing a new product. Maybe can you share a bit of your experience and what is the difference between the approach of a big corporate versus the approach of a startup when it comes to innovating?
I would say that one already have a strategy, a vision established, and a key market. The corporate already have clients, already have product on the market. So their urge to innovate is just a need to always be the best or tackle more market shares, or, you know what I mean? Like this, it's kind of immediately it's a bonus. It's the key thing for them for their future. Otherwise, the company will crash if they don't innovate enough. We can think to a lot of companies that crashed, but if they don't do it immediately, there is no, and that kind of changed the whole mindset because a startup doesn't have clients yet, is not established on the market, has a vision and a strategy that can move and change in function of the feedback of the users, in function of the investors, the contact they have. Some startups do a lot of change of everything. So I remember like the first startup I founded was not in healthcare, but it's smart building. And we've been for 3 years changing the whole vision and strategy, not necessarily vision. Our vision was like to democratize home automation, be interoperable and stuff like that. But the way to achieve that, so the strategy, changed a lot in function of what happened on the market. We developed a technology and Bluetooth came and kind of made our technology obsolete. And then we were like, okay, but we already have a contact with the provider. So we completely built something different. And we achieved to do that very agile with all the resources we had because we didn't have clients. We didn't have a market. In a corporate, you need to preserve the core business at all costs. And then the innovation come on the side as kind of a bonus. It's a necessary bonus on the side, but it's still seen as a bonus. And the startup, it's seen as like the whole purpose of the startup is to make this innovation and achieve to reach the market. That will be for me influencing how you build health tech product. Either it's with all your mean of the company, either it's as a side.
Good, good. And I would say that your full company strategy is around making sure that you build the right product because your product strategy is also kind of your company strategy at some point. You have only one product as a startup. And then you have the necessity to go to the user and to make it work. Like when you have a lot of resources, you don't have that urgency. And that's also maybe this mindset, this urgency to innovate that can make corporate or people in big companies struggle a bit with the innovation. And then that's a bit what I wonder from your perspective, how can we bring this mindset or what can big corporate could learn, for instance, from startup when it comes to getting this agility, this speed that is necessary in a technology device to be successful?
Well, the first thing might be letting space to the innovation to born and exist, which is really tricky, not just space in terms of the right freedom for the team, but also space in time with the right budget for certain amount of year. And we saw that together and we discussed it a lot, like the amount of great project that you see crash in, let's say, a big pharma company or other company, because they think digital, they think in 1 year we have our product, and then they just plan a budget for 1 year or 1.5 years, or maximum 2 years. And this is really problematic. Okay, the startup has the same, but the startup goes way faster. And you will never have the team in the company go as fast as in the startup. They don't have the same financial pressure. They don't have the same commitment to what they do. They are not founder of a company. They are incorporate. They have their salary, and you know what I mean. So you need to be conscious of the difference to be able to copy the best of the startup. And it's also being conscious of the legacy because you don't start from a white page in the corporate or from a blank page. You start with the legacy product. So really, I will see that being conscious of the difference is one of the key stuff. You cannot copy a startup, and you don't want to do it as a corporate because you have your core business to product, and you have more freedom and more money to potentially move. But you need to understand also what you don't have.
That makes total sense. And when you say that, I'm just thinking about some experience I had with a product, for instance. Everybody asked me when I started on this project, oh, why are you so slow? Why do you struggle so much to release? I see startup with a small team, they managed to develop so much so fast. But we have a legacy. We have codes. I don't even know if some of my new engineers know how to write with it. The code is 20 years old. The new tech guys, they barely understand what it is. And we made some decision 20 years ago that was good. But nowadays, with the advance in tech, obviously it's not good enough. And I could also say that one thing I realize, this agility is often reduced by the tech that the big company or pharma have. So we principally build new features because we think that shipping new features is going to make us more successful. And nobody for 20 years really spend time taking care of the tech. So at the end, you have huge debt, and now you have to manage it. And you have that with, I don't know, 10 products. And then when you want to bring things together, that's where you see things slowing down. Oh, we need to, I don't know, migrate all the database. We have a lot of work to do if we want to innovate and bring our product together. So that's, at least I know that we were facing such challenge. I faced those kind of challenge in my career. But I would say that probably you faced similar one with some other company when you're advising healthcare.
We saw that together, of course, when we worked together, but I also saw that with other company, and especially with medtech who have like those legacy products, complex product. It can be a cardiac pump, it can be a hearing aid, dental implant. Those products are legacy because they penetrate the market. They are within your patients for years, and the patients are using them for 20 years. So you cannot have this life cycle where you change the product every day because you still need to maintain those legacy products. So it's what I call the core business. But what goes with it is the decision made, as you said, the choice of technology made 20 years ago, technology moved. So it's obsolete that the product your patients are using. So you can release a new product, but you will add one new product and you need to evaluate the cost versus benefit for your patient, but also for your company as like a new budget, a new maintenance to do. For what will this technology bring more to the patient? It is nice to have, is it a must have? And that's a whole world of decision making which do not regard the startup world, because startup world do not have this legacy. They can just take the best technology at the moment. And if a new technology goes out, they will have to evaluate if they need to switch or not. But you as a corporate is really complex. Another thing, it's not just the choice made, but it's also the people leading. And you were saying that people did some choice. You want to move, you want a budget, you will have to ask above. And you have this corporate pyramid where people who evolve on the pyramid are people who are in this corporate for 20 years. So probably they were the one on the field 20 years ago. So for them, it's really logical to keep those technology and the things. But no, they are not on the field. They are on the strategic level. They are like a bit higher in the organization. They will make decisions based on what they saw 20 years ago. I saw that in some pharma company, very, very political pharma company, where you have people who were working for what pharma was doing in digital a long time ago. The only thing was connected injectors, for example, connected device already a bit. So those people were a bit in advance in terms of digital, and now they are leading the world digital initiative at very high level, but they have no clue how to nowadays develop a new digital health solution, how to build a platform, to partner with different platform provider to build a data lake or participate to the data lake that is already implemented in your company instead of doing your own silo and creating your whole thing. So it's quite tricky. You have not only the legacy of the tech and the product, but the legacy of the people in large corporate.
I like that, the legacy of the people. It's not something that we hear regularly, and that's something that is not easy also as a product leader. I think navigating and being able to influence your stakeholders and to convince them is one of the key strengths you need to have. Otherwise, you cannot move a needle if you are not followed by the leadership team. At the end of the day, you cannot do much. And winning that trust and being able to also demonstrate the evidence that we need to move in tech is key. One of the things I see and I think is that often what is a bit complicated, I see a lot of product leaders in healthcare that move to the tech part of the story that have very little background in tech, because we know that the ecosystem is complicated in healthcare. So we prefer to bring, let's say, business people, business leader and product leader more with a healthcare background. But this lack of tech background can slow us down so much. If you have it, you know how to have the right discussion, you know the right question, shows the potential of a new technology, how it's going to impact patient lives, or how it's going to integrate much faster, how it's going to accelerate your go-to-market in the future. And I think that it's key that we don't think only about launching a new digital health, because it's not a project. And I still see a lot of companies that see digital health as a project, not as a product. But because it's a product, it's not a one-time thing. We also need to manage a life cycle from development to market success. And it's not because we launch it that it's a success, so it's a multiple look. From your perspective, what key stage product leader should focus to ensure long-term? We just talk about the tech, but after your product is launched, when you have it on the market for a while, how do you do to manage the life cycle?
So you're basically mentioning the pure challenge of the scale-up, meaning transitioning from a model where tech is really slightly just the enabler for reaching your market. So you don't care what you use as technology, you don't care the team you use, the service provider you use. You want to build this product and reach your market as a startup. To have your first feedback from the user, and then you will raise more money, and then you will try to scale. And that's when you try to scale that you need to build this sustainable delivery model where you have the maintenance of the product. And that's where those problems start to arrive. And that's the problem that corporate have with technology people, that are attached to one technology, and then you have a lot of political game around, but also, as you say, this kind of clash between tech people and business people, which for me, it should always be a collaboration because one need the other. I mean, if you just keep tech people, they will have their baby because they are engineers, they really love to focus on the tech, and they will completely forget the user. It's normal. It's not their main point of focus. They will be, even if they love it, the user, and you are like that, you're like product manager, you love to be careful about what new feature you build, but still you're 60% tech, 40% business. So you need to have this balance. And when you unbalance that, meaning you have way more tech people or way more business people around, you have problems. But I mean, there is not one answer to this problem because this problem meet the portfolio of your product, meet also the value and the kind of people you have in your company, the budget, the mission of your company, the size of it. If you talk about a big pharma or a med tech like the one you're working is in, I'm thinking also about other industry. You know, this is something you have a lot in microelectronics, for example, which is a very tech savvy industry. It's very technological, but it moves very fast. And some people are just like moving on top of the ladder, the corporate ladder, take decision, and those decisions are completely unrelated to what happened on the market. So everyone has this challenge, and I think it's really about having people who share a vision. So we are more than talking about how people work together and how do you need to grow good leader around a good strategy and things like that.
You said that you mentioned that it should not be like a fight, but much more of a collaboration. And I do think that the key aspect of it. And I think that role of the product management team, I see often the product manager is either the guy that is just here to collect market feedback and then breaking down into user story, or just the guy that is here to make a strategy long term for the product. But I do think that the role of the product manager here is to really bring the product team this collaboration. The health tech leader, I need to bring and tackle between clinical outcome, which is one important aspect, but also how to see how predicting a bit and discuss with the engineers how they see the tech evolving, managing the debt that we have, or make sure that my tech leaders understand the vision we have for the futures. But also I need to make sure that we're going to have the right business model with a business guide, with a regulatory strategy, that also common market access and payer strategy. We have set up everything properly. And it's a lot of requirement to manage. And I guess to be successful, you need to bring everybody together to collaborate. And that's the tough part from my experience.
You have that new.
What is your approach?
My approach is not necessarily one approach, as I told you, but like there is, for example, this methodology which is quite nice for a legacy system and innovation, which consists in reassuring your team, because what you mentioned is a lot around anxiety of people or the fear of not controlling or the fear of losing all the work they have been putting on one product because someone wants to do something new. It's you can move by steps, and this is really recommended in corporates. And I love the stage gated innovation model. It's not new, but when it's properly implemented in very high legacy system and product company, it can really bring great benefits because you basically reassure everyone on each step that no decision will be made without discussing it after this step. And then it also gives a step as a target to reach. So people are really focusing on that. And steps can be like, okay, let's gather the first market feedback with a prototype before we start to discuss the ramp down of the maintenance team of the legacy product. And then stage 2 is we launch the first product on our strongest market or weakest market just to test it. And then we ramp down the strongest at the end. So you really stage the thing and you really test your market like that. And you structure the way in a way which is very transparent for your team. And that this way you bring everyone around the table at each stage. Of course, it's not every 2 weeks or 1 month. It's every 6 months. Each time you need to develop some budget. So you really show and you are already structured. It works well in corporate.
That's totally true. And can you tell us a bit more? I mean, you mentioned the framework that you like to use.
Personally, I like the consulting way somehow of taking the problem from an outside perspective. It brings a lot of value, yet a consulting company do not necessarily knows everything you need to know about the product and the challenge in your company. So a company can have this approach. I saw, for example, Rolf. That's like a specialized consultant team that was coming and working cross division, cross product, everything to really try to understand why so much money and so much energy was invested in some product which end up with silo and not necessarily a great success regarding the impact on patients. And then they had this cross silo team working and creating use case together, putting people together on the table. So for me, it's not a framework, it's a methodology. It's having an outside look with people who are really free to look everywhere and who also know the vision and the strategy of the company for the future and what the company wants to achieve in terms of impact to the user. And keep that in mind without being technological or product corrupted, I would say. Like they are not in a team. They can bring a lot of insight to the right people, so the decision maker, and then the decision maker needs to really consider that and take decision from it. So that's already a first good thing to know. What you can do in this is also identify the key leader, key people that can drive innovation, meaning people who understand the technology but understand the business and are not in one or the other, like really the 50-50 people. They don't believe in the fight, but more in the collaboration. And you need to empower those leaders to drive the change. And you saw that in Stroman, I think.
True, and I think you highlighted something very important to be successful, and that the role of leadership in driving the innovation. You just mentioned that you need to have people that are able to drive innovation. You need to have people that have influence. So, in your experience, what traits a great product tech leader or just a leader in a corporate in health tech?
In corporate, I would say being open-minded, people who listen to others. And, at some point I was like in consulting company and you basically do business development. So you call a lot of healthcare decision maker at high level. And could be weird to say that, but the one who will answer politely and listen to what you have to say will do that with a lot of people. They are really open. They try to understand what happening or her division, not just for a political agenda, but for their own product. So generally what you see is that they are open-minded. They have a focus and a vision of their own, which is aligned with the company vision and strategy, not something completely different on the side. And they say, my company should do that, so I'm doing it. So it should be aligned, should be open-minded and hands-on people. Because you have those kind of very aligned with the company, very open-minded, but they are just spending their time doing LinkedIn posts and political things, which are important probably in large corporate, but they do not help to move the innovation forward. They help to do like advertisement for, yes, this company is innovative, and then probably some talent will join. But you need to have people that can just talk to the engineer, hey, what's the problem? And not just on the technological part, but also on the human part to understand what's the issue between the people in your team, what's the tension here and there. And, we've been doing that together also with Stroma and like trying to understand how people were considering their own job. Like if the guy is developing a platform, is he considering his platform to be something for helping people, or is he considering his platform for the new product that will kill everything? And then you need to understand that as a decision maker, as a CTO, as a CIO, to really play your card properly and set up the thing without breaking your business.
I agree with you. I've seen a lot of leaders, and I think that's one of the things that I deeply realize is that doing the craft, being really hands-on is something that really helps. And you also can feel, from my perspective, the one that has been, climbing a bit the corporate ladder, and you also have the one that did the craft, took some time, really being done on the field, building product, marketed it, selling them, that have seen it all, let's say from all perspective and angle. And that helps a lot then to navigate and to know what is the struggle to build something, but also to commercialize it. Also the people you have to align with it. That I think is the trait that you see with people that have spent a lot of time launching, developing, and not only.
But then it's also the executive playbook, like to choose these people and to set up an organization in a way that those people can grow, because those people do not have time for political fight. As they have it, but if you drain them in political fight in things which are not logical and not in alignment with the corporate, the company strategy and vision for their users, if they have to fight for something where they are right or they are in alignment with the company because everyone wants the job, then this is a nightmare. And this is something you see a lot sometimes where the board is too focused on the core business or on some problem with the stakeholder or something like that, and they are not realizing that they should focus on the well-being of the middle management and the management of their team, because those people are the one that can either enable the innovation to flow or just make a mess, make a political mess like in some big pharma, or just make a technological mess with a lot of silos telling three different people under you, hey guys, I will make you competing. I saw that a lot in some company. Yeah, a bit of competition is no harm. I heard that a lot. I was like, this is something, I don't know. I don't understand this kind of management. You cannot say your manager will compete to see who is the best. It's good. It brings them energy and motivation. I mean, yes, for maybe 6 months. And if they are sharp politically, they will win. But you will discourage the good one. And there is way better way to motivate people, starting with user feedback or impact, because we work in healthcare. So you can just improve the life of people. It's better than just taking the job of your colleague.
That's very important. I think healthy management is one of the key aspects for sure. But there's also one aspect that I find particularly important, and it's the ability to be very visionary. I think it's building digital health products often means challenging the status quo, and being visionary also sometimes challenging the status quo for the core business. What's your advice for traditional leaders from traditional healthcare company who need to bring their team on board with this new way of working, with this new digital product that may also, put the people working on the core business in a not difficult position, but in a position that is out of their comfort zone. They're gonna have to do something new. It's not only, let's say, there's a device they implant or whatever product you are used to bring to the market. No, it's probably an ecosystem, a connected device, but also some software piece. What's your advice for leaders that want to do this transition, this digital transformation?
First, if you're in a corporate or a scale up, you need to have the buy-in. You need to be aligned with the mission of your company. And if there is a clash at some point, you need to be able to say it out loud and to have the data to show through the leadership that there is an adaptation of the strategy to be done. So it's also about data, because we all move in the world in function of our perception. So you could have the market perception, but also the perception of the board or stakeholder, whatever. It's in theory, it's linked to the market perception, not always, but in theory. But also we move with science and we move with knowledge. What do we know? What do we have as data? And politically, the world is drifting away from that, but technologically, not at all. Like AI is based on data, robust data, knowledge. And we talk about AI. So here, just to drift to digital transformational program, which are a bit new from your company, you need to build a use case, build a business plan. And that's what you do in a startup to convince investor. That's what you need to do in corporate to convince your leader. But you do not build that for 6 months on your side. But you don't not also necessarily need the mandate to do it, because if you ask for a mandate to do it, you will never get it in a corporate. You will get it after 1 year, but it will be too late. So you need to be a bit, have some initiative spirit, try to talk to your leadership with an open way, gather the proper data, try to synthesize your data, try to make a case, like make a pitch of what you want to achieve with your innovation. And that's where I will see really the common thing between startup and corporate. You need to have people on board with you, whether they are your boss, your investor, everyone. You need to have them on board with you on how to improve the product or build a new product. And for that, you need data and you need also a good approach. And you need to know how to talk. You need to know how to be a good leader. And one of the things we did not mention, which is key for being a leader, is being able to surround yourself with talent and good people. And when I say talent and good people, you have the perception of the talent, like the Formula One of the software architecture, for example. Cool, but you also need good people, someone who is open-minded, with quiet, calm, and this is key. I think that's what I would recommend, to build a business case, but also surround yourself with the right people, both for startup and for corporate. And as soon as you have a first draft of your business case, start to talk to your management, but also to your users. Start to check. The world is big, so you can talk with a lot of people and test your idea, test the thing you want to do. Don't keep a secret. It's, I think, not helping innovation.
That's definitely true. What something that always make me think is how it can be true is that I've seen a lot of a B2B company that actually don't talk to their user. Oh no, we are not allowed to talk. The my product team is not allowed to talk to the user because, I don't know, the sales part is in between. It happens not only in health tech, but I know in tech B2B is the same. I find this out, but you to tell you right.
If you are not allowed to do it, you need to build a case to get the authorization to do it or change the strategy of your company on how to do it. And if you cannot, maybe you are not at the right place and you should do a spin-off. If your company do not want to build a new product, or if your marketing to your taste is not providing you with the right data, you need to ask this data because that's their job indeed to go to your user. So everyone needs to have the job. I remember like just big pharma telling me, oh, they talk to the commercial part because they are in each country and everything. I was like, how do you talk to the user, the people who will buy a solution? Oh, we have a study done by a consulting company. And I was like, this is, so you pay an external supplier to go talk to your client because you don't want to talk to your own colleague because they don't sit in the same division than you. Why? Oh, the process is too complex. And when it's like that, yeah, probably it's better to go to a consulting to change company or to try to change the process. But it's tricky. It comes with the corporate world, indeed.
I think it's also a lot about the mindset at the end. And that's what is the most complicated. And you need to have to change the mindset and to change the culture of your company when this something like that happens. That's the toughest part. Changing a process is something, changing people mindset and way and culture is another deal.
Yeah. And you need to ask yourself, and it's good for you too, is like, what is this culture made for? If it's stay here, made because we are all people on the board, or is this culture made to protect the core business? And what I see in health company in Switzerland is very much about protecting the core business. In pharma, it's protecting the molecule, the acquisition, and the pharma world, the way they work. In Sonova, it's the hearing aid, and anywhere you look, it's they have a core business, and the culture is made for that. Sometimes you cannot really fight it, and that's why most of the innovation they have do not come from, I mean, not most, but a lot come from open innovation and acquisition and merge, because it's easier to take innovation where it is than to build it inside. And then it goes to the issue of merging this acquisition within the legacy system. And then you're back in the problem, which is innovation. So when you acquire a company, it's called open innovation. So it's also an innovation approach you need to set up. It's not just buying and giving them your work email and that's fine. And this is also another journey, but I think it's the same. You need to have an innovation approach when you buy a company.
Definitely. And also, you need to do the same effort as you need to integrate them. And right now, we are talking a lot to product manager and product marketer. You have coached a lot of product manager. What do you see as the most important skills or mindset for product leader in health tech to develop over the next decade? What are the most important skill and mindset that we should develop?
I would be tempted to say, I think a data-centered approach a bit because we talk like the world now is just all about AI, including machine learning, neural network, and all this kind of advanced, which still happens. So I will say that product manager need to be aware of how to use those tools to improve their process or their work. I'm thinking, for example, I was reading some stuff around AI right now, or large language model are changing a bit the way developer work, and it will replace some developer somehow, but it can free some of your time and focus out of the pure development of your feature, your REST API or something, and just put this energy of something else to make it faster, better innovation, or probably also to gather more data and structure better your data for the future, to connect with other division of the product, or gather data for your leadership to improve the communication pathway in your company. So I would say that product managers should be able to always use the tool that help them do their job better. And if they have free time to even make their job better by increasing their impact while doing that in the company. That will be about data and AI. Other than that, I would say work on our human skill because we are in a world that goes very fast. A lot of technology, a lot of different things happen, and I think what remain in the end, why you love to work in your company is the interaction you have with your colleague and the human adventure, the culture, the vision of your company, and this is made by human, and it will stay made by human. So I think this is important. Work on your human quality and be able to use the tools that are out there to make your life better and the life of your company better.
Great. And lastly, where can our listener go to learn more about you, your work? I know you still provide advice with your structure. So tell us where we can find you.
Right now, I have my own advising company, which is called alpamed.ch. And I just advise a bit of product manager like you in corporate. Most of my work I do with startup and investors. So I support investor in doing due diligence and selecting the right startup to invest in. I help startups structuring themselves to get investment, and I also help them scale. I work with a network of partners for the different challenge because I don't have all the answer at all.
Super. Thank you very much, Anton. That was super inspiring. I think your experience or your knowledge will help a lot of people that are listening to us. Thank you for tuning into the Clinic podcast. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable. We would love to hear from you. Your feedback helps us to improve and tailor our content to what matters most to you. So if you got a topic you would like to hear about, or if you would like to deep dive into a burning question that you can answer with us, so please don't hesitate to contact me. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It will help us to reach more listeners like you. So until next time, keep building products that make difference, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Tip.